The storm outside was relentless, hammering the tin roof of the small veterinary clinic nestled on the outskirts of Marlow, a town too quiet for headlines. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed softly over a metal examination table where an old German shepherd lay battered, soaked, and silent. Dr. Benjamin Ellis, a seasoned veterinarian with salt and pepper hair and a tired soul, stood over the dog with a syringe in hand. The liquid inside was clear, lethal, and final. The man who brought the dog in, Neil Conroy, a grizzled farmer in a rain-soaked jacket, paced by the door. "Told you, Doc. It went after my sheep. Dangerous. Needs putting down before it. Goes for someone else." Benjamin didn't answer right away. His eyes were on the dog. There was something off. Despite the visible wounds and matted fur, the German shepherd held its posture like a soldier, injured but dignified, broken but not defeated. No growling, no fear, just calm, intelligent eyes that followed Benjamin's every move. Most dogs would be cowering by now, but this one, it understood. Benjamin had worked with animals for 25 years. He'd seen loyalty, pain, and even gratitude, but this was different. This dog wasn't just resigned to its fate. It was pleading. The vet took a step closer with the syringe. The dog did something no one expected. It leaned forward, trembling, and pressed its muzzle gently into Benjamin's chest. A hug. Silent plea. Time froze. Benjamin's hand stopped mid-air. He looked down into the dog's eyes and saw something that shattered his professional detachment. Trust. Deep, desperate trust. Like the dog knew this man could save him, if he just listened. "What the hell are you waiting for?" Conroy snapped from behind, stepping forward. But Benjamin didn't answer. His hand brushed the dog's collar, and something metallic caught the light beneath the mud-caked leather. Gently, he wiped it clean with his thumb. A badge, and then a tag. Unit 047. Officer D. Reeves. Benjamin's breath caught. The syringe dropped into the tray with a soft clink. This wasn't a stray. This was a canine, a police dog. One with a partner, one trained to serve, and someone had gone through great lengths to make him disappear. "Is everything okay, Doc?" Conroy asked again, this time with an edge, a subtle shift from impatient to dangerous. Benjamin turned slowly, hiding the tag in his palm. "Just making sure I do this right." Inside, his pulse thundered. Outside, thunder cracked. And in that moment, Dr. Benjamin Ellis, the man who had retreated from the world after one too many betrayals, knew he couldn't just look the other way this time. Not with this dog, not with those eyes, not with whatever secret had just been pressed into his hands. Dr. Benjamin Ellis sat at his cluttered desk long after Conroy had stormed out into the rain. The door had slammed hard enough to shake the certificate on the wall, a dusty remnant from a life he'd left behind in Los Angeles. The room smelled of antiseptic and wet fur. On the exam table nearby, the German shepherd, no, Duke, rested under a blanket, sedated but stable. Benjamin couldn't stop staring at the metal tag he'd found sewn into the collar. Unit 047, Officer D. Reeves. His fingers traced the engraved letters over and over again as if trying to erase doubt. This wasn't just some half-wild dog attacking livestock. This was a K9 unit, a cop, and he'd almost euthanized him without knowing. He flipped open his laptop, the ancient fan inside whirring to life like a tired old engine. It had been years since Benjamin had accessed anything related to LAPD, but the instincts never left. He typed slowly, "Officer Diana Reeves, LAPD." The internet connection struggled in the storm, but eventually, articles filled the screen. Officer Diana Reeves presumed dead after failed drug raid in South Central. Decorated canine handler disappears in cartel ambush. No bodies recovered. Investigation goes cold. Benjamin leaned in. Every article told the same story. Reeves had gone missing 6 months ago during a raid on a suspected cartel safe. Aus, her partner, a German shepherd named Duke. He clicked on a photo embedded in one of the reports. There she was, Diana Reeves in full LAPD uniform. her hand resting proudly on the head of a younger, stronger version of the dog now lying injured in his clinic. It was unmistakable. Same fur pattern, same intelligent eyes. Duke hadn't died in that ambush. He had survived. But how? Benjamin stood and walked over to the dog. "Duke," he said softly. The shepherd's ears twitched. "Duke," he repeated, this time leaning closer. "Is that you?" The dog's tail moved slightly beneath the blanket. Even groggy, even injured, he responded to his name. It was him. "No." "Sweet." Benjamin exhaled slowly, his mind already racing ahead to what this meant. If Duke had been found near Conroy's land, it wasn't by accident. And if someone had gone through the trouble of hiding his identity, covering up his badge, sedating him, then this wasn't just a missing dog. This was a buried truth, and someone wanted it to stay buried. He grabbed his phone and dialed the county sheriff. "Marlow County Sheriff's Department," a sleepy voice answered. "This is Dr. Benjamin Ellis," he said quickly. "I'm calling from the Marlow Veterinary Clinic. I believe I've found a missing LAPD police dog. Unit 047, partner of Officer Diana Reeves." There was silence on the other end. Then a shift in tone. "Hold, please." Benjamin stared out, the rain-speckled window as the line clicked over. Outside, the darkness pressed in like a secret waiting to be told. Duke stirred slightly, his breathing shallow but even. The quiet hum of the fluorescent lights filled the silence until a new voice came on the line. "Dr. Ellis, this is Deputy Tolland. We've contacted LAPD. They're sending someone first thing in the morning. Can you secure the dog until then?" "Yes, I'll stay with him," Benjamin replied. After hanging up, he rolled his old recliner into the exam room, pulling it beside the table. He wasn't going to sleep, but if he did doze off, he wanted to be near Duke. It had been years since he had felt this kind of weight settle over him. Not fear, exactly. Something deeper. Conviction. He dozed lightly, waking each time Duke whimpered. In his sleep. When the dog stirred, Benjamin whispered to him, reassuring like he used to do in the early days of his practice, before the scandal, before everything collapsed. Just after dawn, a black SUV pulled into the gravel driveway, its hoor, tires crackling like distant gunfire. Two detectives stepped out, their movements calm but alert. One was a woman in her mid-30s, dark ponytail, badge already in hand. The other, a man with sharp eyes and a long overcoat that didn't match the country rain. "Detective Monica Reyes," she said, extending her hand. "And this is Detective Greg Hauer, LAPD." Benjamin nodded. "Duke's inside." As they entered the clinic, Duke's head rose. His body was stiff, but his eyes locked onto Hauer, and a low, rumbling growl escaped his throat. Hauer stopped, one hand drifting toward his hip. "Easy, big guy," he said, voice light but eyes calculating. Reyes, on the other hand, knelt gently nearby. "Duke," she whispered. The dog's tail wagged. Benjamin raised an eyebrow. "You know him?" Reyes didn't look away from the dog. "Diana Reeves was my training officer. I spent hundreds of hours with her and Duke. He's not the kind of dog you forget." Benjamin handed her the cleaned collar and the medical chart. "Found this under all the blood and dirt. Recent injuries, but some older ones too. Consistent with being restrained, not a wild stray." Hauer barely glanced at the chart. "Touching story," he muttered, "but Reeves is presumed dead." "Let's not get carried away." Reyes shot him a look. "We should talk to the man who brought Duke in." They found Conroy in his truck, groggy and irritated. When asked where he found Duke, he muttered something about the woods near his property. But the details were inconsistent. "Thought it might attack my sheep," he said. But Benjamin remembered. Last night, Conroy had said Duke already had attacked. The detectives exchanged a look. Something wasn't right. Reyes turned to Benjamin as they prepared to leave. "I'd like to stay in town today, observe Duke, see how he reacts." "Of course," Benjamin said. "He's staying here." By afternoon, Reyes returned, this time asking about Duke's behavior. "He keeps staring out the window," she said, "toward the woods like he's trying to tell us something." Benjamin thought back to the night before. Duke had done the same thing, Watching, waiting, Reyes leaned in. "These dogs are trained to guide us to what we miss." Then she looked him dead in the eye. "Dr. Ellis, would you come with us?" Benjamin hesitated. For years he had chosen solitude, chosen to stay out of things. But looking into Duke's eyes, the same eyes that begged him not to give that injection, he knew the answer. "I'll get my kit." Thick morning mist clung to the trees as Detective Monica Reyes, Dr. Benjamin Ellis, and the injured German shepherd named Duke made their way past the tree line behind Mel Conroy's property. The damp earth squelched beneath their boots, and dew dripped from the leaves like nervous sweat. Duke moved with surprising purpose despite the bandages on his side. His nose was to the ground, tail stiff and straight, body low and alert. Benjamin carried a compact medical kit slung over his shoulder, while Reyes walked ahead, her right hand never straying far from the grip of her holstered weapon. "This isn't random," she muttered. "He's leading us somewhere." Benjamin nodded silently, watching Duke pause at intervals, sniffing the air, then continuing forward with urgency. After nearly 40 minutes of tense hiking, the woods began to thin. Fallen leaves crunched beneath their feet as they stepped into a clearing littered with broken branches and damp debris. Duke suddenly stopped. His body went rigid, a low whine escaping his throat. He pawed at the ground frantically near a large mound of soaked leaves. Reyes knelt down beside him. "There's something metal under here," she said, using her boot to push aside the foliage. Within moments, they uncovered a rusted storm hatch embedded in the earth, the padlock securing. It, however, gleamed like it had just been installed. Benjamin crouched beside her, brushing his fingers over the edge of the hatch. "This isn't listed on any maps I've seen," he said. "I've treated animals all around here. No one ever mentioned an old shelter." "It's not meant to be found," Reyes said grimly. She stood and ran back to her SUV parked at the edge of the forest, returning minutes later with a tire iron. Together, she and Benjamin worked at the lock, grunting through the effort. After several hard strikes, the latch snapped. The hatch creaked open. A stale, musty gust of air escaped, carrying the scent of mildew and rot. Duke stood at the edge, whining anxiously. Reyes turned on her flashlight and drew her weapon. "Stay close," she instructed, then descended the narrow metal ladder. Benjamin followed, one hand gripping the rungs, the other holding a small flashlight. At the bottom, they found a small concrete room, maybe 15 feet square. Dust-coated shelves lined the walls, stacked with emergency rations, water jugs, and a cot with a threadbare blanket. But in the far corner, barely visible under a heavy chain, was the silhouette of a person. Reyes stepped forward. "LAPD, identify yourself." A faint rustle came from the figure, followed by a rasping voice. "Duke." Reyes froze. "Oh my God, Diana." She holstered her weapon and rushed forward, flashlight illuminating the pale, emaciated face of Officer Diana Reeves. Her dark hair was matted, her wrists raw and bruised from the iron shackles bolted to the wall. Her lips were cracked, but her eyes were alert. Benjamin dropped beside her, quickly checking her vitals. Her pulse was weak, but she was alive. "Duke found us," Reyes whispered, unlocking the chains as tears welled in her eyes. "He never gave up." Diana leaned against the wall, her breath shallow. "They kept me drugged. For weeks. I didn't know if he made it." "He made it," Benjamin said. "And he brought us here." Reyes grabbed her radio. "This is Detective Reyes. We've located Officer Diana Reeves alive. I need immediate medical extraction and backup. Coordinates transmitting now." They supported Diana as she slowly climbed the ladder, each step an effort. Duke was waiting at the top, tail wagging slowly, his head bowed with recognition and relief. As they emerged into the daylight, a sharp crack echoed from the woods. Reyes spun, weapon raised. Nothing moved in the trees. Whoever had been watching was already gone. Minutes later, the wail of sirens cut through the forest stillness. Emergency responders arrived and quickly took over. Diana was loaded into an ambulance, her condition stable, but fragile. She gripped Reyes's hand before the doors closed. "Thank you for believing in him," she whispered. "For finding me." "I didn't find you," Reyes said. "Duke did." Benjamin stood a short distance away, watching the ambulance pull off into the trees. Duke sat beside him, eyes never leaving the vehicle until it disappeared around the bend. "Dr. Ellis?" A voice called out. A sheriff's deputy approached with a notepad. "We need your full statement." Back at the clinic, Benjamin recounted everything, from Conroy's visit and the suspicious injuries to the discovery of the badge and the trek into the woods. "You ever see that bunker before?" the deputy asked. "Never," Benjamin replied. "But someone went to a lot of trouble to make sure no one ever would." Later that night, the clinic was unusually quiet. Duke lay curled on a blanket in the corner of Benjamin's office, ears twitching in his sleep. The vet sat at his desk, unable to focus on paperwork. He kept replaying the moment when Duke pressed his muzzle into his chest, the silent plea that had changed everything. A knock on the door startled him. Reyes stepped in, still wearing the same boots from the hike. "She's stable," she said, sinking into the chair opposite his desk. "Severely dehydrated, bruised, underweight, but alert. And she's talking." Benjamin exhaled, shoulders sagging with relief. Reyes rubbed her temples. But Conroy's gone completely silent. No names, no explanation, not even a lawyer. "Because he wasn't working alone," Benjamin said. She nodded. "The GPS tracker, Duke's collar, that wasn't standard issue. We ran it through a contact, custom-built, military-grade, encrypted, the kind used by cartels or private intelligence groups. So they were tracking him, or using him," Reyes replied. "Maybe both." She stood and walked to the window, gazing out into the woods beyond the parking lot. "This goes deeper than just one dirty cop or a missing officer. They were trying to disappear her, permanently." Benjamin followed her gaze. And if Duke hadn't gotten away, she'd still be chained in that bunker, or worse. They stood in silence for a moment. Outside, a breeze rustled the trees. Duke stirred and opened one eye, then settled. "Again." Reyes turned to Benjamin. "We're not done yet." He nodded. "I didn't think we were. Because whatever lay beyond that tree line, whoever had tried to silence Diana Reeves, wasn't going to give up that easily. And Duke, the dog they thought was lost, was still watching, still guarding, still not done. The morning after Diana Reeves was rescued, Marlowe's skies were clearer, but a storm still brewed inside the clinic. Dr. Benjamin Ellis stood beside Duke, gently changing the bandages on his flank. The German shepherd didn't flinch, his eyes locked on the front door as if expecting danger to walk through it at any moment. Reyes arrived just after sunrise, dark circles under her eyes, but her stance still sharp. "He barely slept," Ellis said. "Every time I dozed off, he was watching that door." Reyes knelt beside Duke and rubbed his neck. "He knows it's not over, and I agree with him." Ellis removed Duke's collar to clean it. That's when he felt something strange. Again. He paused. "There's something inside the lining," he said. Carefully, he peeled back the leather seam using surgical scissors. Hidden inside was a flat circular device, no bigger than a coin, with a blinking red light. Reyes's expression turned to stone. "That's a tracker," she said, "and not a department-issued one." She pulled out her phone. "Give me 1 hour. I'm bringing in someone who can help." True to her word, she returned 45 minutes later with a young woman in thick-rimmed glasses and a military-style laptop. "This is Sarah Chen," Reyes introduced. "Cyber forensics." Sarah plugged the device into an adapter and began typing. "The signal's encrypted," she murmured, "but not beyond reach." After a few minutes, she pulled up a map. "This tracker's been active for months. See? These clusters? One is the bunker location. This one, here, is the path Duke took through the woods. This..." She pointed to a ping just behind the clinic. "This is weird. 2:17 a.m. 2 nights ago." Ellis furrowed his brow. Duke was inside the kennel. The door was locked. "Check your security footage," Sarah suggested. Ellis opened the outdoor camera logs. The footage was grainy, in black and white. But at exactly 2:17 a.m., a figure in a hooded sweatshirt appeared at the back of the building. They approached the window, tapped it once, and stood silently for nearly half a minute before walking away into the trees. Duke, lying in frame, suddenly jolted upright. His ears went forward. He growled. Reyes leaned in. "Freeze it." The figure was partially turned away, but the posture. There was something oddly familiar. "He wasn't lost," Ellis whispered. "He was being tracked." Reyes folded her arms. "And monitored." Sarah continued analyzing the device. "This isn't some store-bought GPS. It's part of a closed network, custom software likely used by high-level private contractors, possibly cartel-connected." Reyes nodded grimly. "If they were using Duke to find Diana, or to make sure no one else did, it means they're not done." Just then, the clinic's front bell rang. It was the mail slot. Ellis went to check. An envelope had been slipped under the door, unmarked, except for one short typewritten message. "Keep the dog. Stay out of this." Inside was a single 9mm bullet casing. Reyes picked it up with gloved hands. "Standard issue. They're telling us they have cops on the inside." Ellis's face darkened. "This was a warning." "No," Reyes corrected. "It's a promise." That evening, Benjamin tried to maintain his routine. He cleaned exam rooms, he checked his animals. He replaced cracked glass from the clinic's front window. But his hands shook more than usual. Reyes remained nearby, never taking her eyes off the shadows beyond the parking lot. That night, she slept on the recliner in the main office, gun holstered. Beside her, Duke lay in the corner, but his body was taut, eyes open. He didn't sleep just past 3:01 a.m. He stood suddenly. Then came the crack of breaking glass. The alarm blared through the building. 2 masked men burst through the back entrance, one headed toward the kennel area, the other ransacking drawers and supply cabinets. Reyes was on her. Feet in seconds, Ellis ducked behind his office desk, phone in hand. "One," he whispered. "This is Dr. Ellis, 2 intruders armed inside the clinic." Outside, Duke launched forward with a snarl that echoed through the halls. He tackled one intruder near the supply closet, biting hard into the man's arm. A scream tore through. "The clinic, get the damn dog off me." The other man knocked over a steel cabinet and began shouting, "Find the collar, it's here somewhere." Ellis held his breath in the dark, listening to the chaos. He heard Duke bark again. Then, a yelp. Something heavy slammed against the wall. Reyes burst through the hallway, firing a single warning shot into the ceiling. "Police, drop your weapons." The 2 intruders turned to flee. More flashing lights appeared outside. Sirens. Sheriff Martinez and 2 deputies arrived moments later. Reyes moved swiftly, cuffing one of the men as the other was carried out on a stretcher. Duke lay near the front desk, breathing hard, scraped, but alive. Ellis rushed to his side, gently pressing gauze to a bleeding shoulder. "You did good. Boy," he whispered. "You saved us again." Reyes examined a bloodstain on the floor. "We'll get DNA from this." A black glove lay nearby. She picked it up and turned it inside out. Embroidered in the lining was a red scorpion wrapped around a dagger. Her expression turned to ice. "This is the cartel Diana was investigating." Back at the station, Sarah analyzed the footage. "There," she said, pointing to a still image. "Tattoo, right wrist, exposed for half a second." She ran facial recognition. The result came back fast. Luis Ortega, ex-Special Forces, cartel enforcer. Tied to at least 3 LAPD raids that had gone sideways in the past 2 years, and all those raids had been overseen by one man, Detective Greg Hauer. Reyes leaned back in her chair, stunned. He's been feeding them intel for years. She grabbed her phone and began filing the report to Internal Affairs. "This is Detective Reyes. I'm formally reporting Officer Gregory Hauer, badge NA 5529, for collusion with cartel operations. I have visual evidence, GPS data, a surviving witness, and motive." The IA agent's response was swift but cautious. "Move quietly," he said. "If he suspects pressure, he'll disappear." Reyes hung up, stared at the ceiling, and muttered, We need to move faster than that. She returned to the clinic. That night, tension in every step. We're fortifying this place, she told Ellis. Extra locks, steel shutters, cameras at every angle. Duke's not safe, neither are you. Ellis nodded. I'll convert the old kennel into a secure room. Reinforced walls, double-barred door. I installed it years ago for aggressive cases. They worked until 2 a.m., hammering, bolting, rewiring. Duke, ever vigilant, followed their movements. By the time the sun peeked over the horizon, the clinic looked more like a fortress than a farm town. Vet's office. But Duke didn't seem to mind. He lay down at the entrance to the secure room, his ears up, his chest rising steady, waiting, watching, and ready for whatever came next. The tracker's signal pulsed red on the small receiver Ellis had modified, the dot inching northeast across the screen. Reyes stared at it, jaw tight. They're moving fast. If they're heading where I think they are, we won't have much time. The Old Wilson airstrip, Ellis said, already grabbing his jacket. Private, quiet, perfect for a small plane. She didn't hesitate. You're coming with me. You know the roads better than I do. They jumped into Reyes's unmarked SUV and tore down back roads in the early dawn. Mud flew from the tires as Ellis navigated shortcuts only a country vet would know. The tracker beeped faster as they neared the clearing beyond the tree line. They'll try to fly him out, Reyes muttered. They know they've been exposed. Duke's the last thread tying them to everything. At the airstrip, inside a hangar painted in rust and neglect, Duke lay sedated in a metal cage. Greg Hauer stood nearby, pacing. Sweat darkened his collar. His hands trembled. Luis Ortega leaned against a fuel drum, watching the small plane being prepped outside. The cartel's ready for you, he told Hauer. Payment's already arranged. We get the dog, you get your beach retirement. Hauer snapped, let's just get out of here. But Duke stirred. The drugs were wearing off. Slowly. His ears twitched, then his eyes opened. Groggy, unfocused, but angry. He caught Hauer's scent and remembered. The man who betrayed his handler. The one who helped take her. And suddenly, Duke moved. Outside, Reyes and Ellis crouched near the hangar's rear. She drew her weapon and whispered, We go in loud. Wait, Ellis said. He grabbed a wrench off the ground and hurled it at the hangar's far side. Clang! Inside, Ortega turned toward the noise, weapon drawn. The distraction was enough. Reyes kicked open the door. LAPD, drop your weapons! Gunfire erupted. Ortega and his partner dove for cover. Hauer fumbled for his pistol. Reyes ducked behind. A crate returning fire. Inside the cage, Duke surged forward. His body still sluggish from the tranquilizer, but his mind sharp. He slammed his weight against the cage door, once, twice, until the lock snapped. He launched straight at Hauer. The man turned just in time to see a flash of fur and fury. Duke's jaws locked onto Hauer's arm. The gun dropped. Hauer screamed. Reyes charged forward. Hands where I can see them. Hauer fell, Duke pinning him, growling low. Ortega tried to flee toward the plane, but a single shot rang out from the trees. He dropped to the ground, hit in the leg by a deputy's bullet. Backup had arrived. Red and blue lights washed over the hangar walls. Sheriff Martinez and 2 more units swarmed in. Reyes knelt beside Duke, whispering, Good boy, that's enough. Duke finally let go, his body trembling but alert. Ellis rushed to his side, checking his breathing. You're okay now, he whispered. Greg Hauer, bleeding and broken, stared up at the ceiling of the hangar. His empire of secrets shattered in minutes. Later that day, in a cold interrogation room, Reyes sat across from him. His bandaged arm twitched. You could have walked away, she said. Why Diana? She found patterns, Hauer muttered. Surveillance logs, money trails, things she wasn't supposed to see. So you gave her to the cartel. He said nothing. Duke was supposed to die too, right? She asked. Still silence. I guess loyalty's not something you understand. Hauer looked down. I did what I had to do. Reyes stood. No, you did what cowards do. That night, news broke across the country. Corrupt LAPD detective arrested for ties to cartel. Missing officer found alive. Police dog. Leads rescue mission. Duke became a national hero. Back in Marlow, the clinic overflowed with flowers, thank you letters, even a donation fund. But Duke didn't care for fame. He stayed close to Ellis, following him from room to room, a silent shadow of calm. One morning, as Reyes prepared to return to LA, she stood outside the clinic with Diana Reeves, now healthier, stronger. She turned to Ellis. "You saved us both," she said. "You listened when no one else did." Ellis smiled softly. "He told me. I just finally listened." Reyes handed him an envelope. "From LAPD. They want you to consult for the K9 unit. Official title. Real paycheck." He looked at it, then back at the trees. "I think I'm needed here." She nodded. "Then I won't try to change your mind." Before they left, Diana knelt beside Duke. "You brought me home," she whispered. "You never gave up." His tail wagged slowly. At sunset, Ellis stood by the clinic's gate. A new sign had been installed. Duke's Haven, Animal Recovery and Rescue. The town now knew. The world now knew. But Duke, he just watched the forest, because some instincts never sleep, and some guardians never stop guarding. The scent of fresh-cut cedar drifted through the morning air as Dr. Benjamin Ellis stood at the gate of his transformed clinic. The new sign, carved in dark wood and framed in steel, read, "Duke's Haven, Animal Recovery and Rescue." The name wasn't just a tribute, it was a promise. Where once stood a modest country practice, now rose a sanctuary built from conviction, resilience, and loyalty. The old exam tables had been replaced, the kennels redesigned. There was even a hydrotherapy pool and a private wing dedicated to retired service dogs, animals like Duke, who had given everything and asked for nothing. Inside, volunteers moved between stations, some washing towels, others coaxing nervous rescues from their crates with soft voices and open hands. A teenager from the local high school gently guided a one-eyed Labrador through physical therapy, following instructions Duke had once modeled. Duke himself lay on a sunlit patch of floor near Benjamin's desk. His eyes followed every movement. In the room, not with suspicion, but with calm awareness. He no longer wore a badge, he didn't need one. His presence alone reminded everyone what courage looked like. That afternoon, Diana Reeves arrived with a young Belgian Malinois named Echo, recently retired from narcotics duty, still adjusting to life without his handler. Duke rose slowly to greet him, pressing his nose gently to the younger dog's neck. Echo relaxed. It was as if Duke was saying, "You're safe here. You're one of us now." Reyes called later that evening. She was now heading a task force on internal corruption across multiple departments. "They're still digging," she said. Turns out Hauer wasn't the only one feeding intel. Ellis leaned against the doorway, watching Duke through the window. "You think it's over?" "I think it's quieter," she replied. "But quiet doesn't mean safe." He nodded, then asked, "You ever think about coming back out here? Helping train the next generation?" Reyes laughed softly. "I already am, just on a bigger field." The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the gravel driveway. Ellis stepped outside with a fresh bowl of water and knelt beside Duke. "You did it, boy," he murmured. "You brought her back. You changed everything." Duke pressed his head into Ellis's hand. They stayed like that. For a while, no sound but the wind rustling the trees and the soft hum of the world, remembering how to breathe again. And just as the last light faded, Duke lifted his head toward the tree line. He watched. Still. Because some missions don't end with medals. Some missions become a legacy.